I love how you show up intentionally as a husband and as a father. And it's just really cool. Like I love your IG feed because you're real. You're not like trying to show some glamorous side. Like you're like, hey, wow, my kid's mad at me today. And but I know that's a big part of what matters to you. So like as you've become more comfortable, like as we're all just dudes trying to figure this out along the way, what are some learnings along the way of just like not being scared to show your real true self and not just be all business and buttoned up all the time? Because you do a great job of that online and I admire that about you.
Yeah, so I when I was in college, I would go to like the family sciences arm, and I went to a religious school, so I mean they're like pretty upfront about the value of family. And there was a quote, like a big quote painted on the wall where I would go do most of my studying. Let's see if I can get it right. But it said something to the effect of, no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home, right? And that's something that I think about a ton, right? You have to keep that front and center. You also know, again, you're going to get a study with me, Brad.
Fine.
I think I'll share the research and then talk about how it plays into my life. There's something in psychology called the pratfall effect, and it's a great name. And it was done on these faux politicians. And they had three politicians, and they had people, they're fake politicians. It's a psych study, but they have this crowd of people, and they're like, "Who do you want to vote for?" Okay. The first person goes up and is just ridiculous. Like they're unprepared, they're goofy, they're uncoordinated, whatever, disaster. Okay. The next person goes up there and they just nail it. Like, tailored suit, every line
Hmm.
delivered with precision, 10 out of 10, nailed it. The third one goes up there and they spill a little coffee on their shirt and they make a little joke and their suit's a little rumpled. And then they deliver, an 8 out of 10 speech. Solid,
Hmm.
they know their stuff, but it's not as precise and it's not as regimented as the second person. People love that third politician the most. That's
Yeah.
the that's the one they want. Competent but human, right? Competent but human. And when you think about, there's research on how we appraise other people. The two biggest factors in some studies are competence and warmth, right? Does this person know what they're talking about, right? Are they competent? Do they move through the world in an intelligent way? But then are they warm? Are they kind? Are they gentle? Because when someone's competent and cold, that's scary. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's an enemy. That's someone who's going to use their brilliance against us. But trying to be competent but warm is, it's not like I'm doing it to do it. But for me, if I can inject 1% more realness into the world, because one of the gifts of having been a therapist, and I have not been a therapist in like whatever, 15 years or something, but one of the gifts of having ever been a therapist is seeing wealthy, successful, titled, otherwise high functioning people come into your office and fall apart
Mm.
because things are not as they seem. And that was such a gift to me to understand that nobody has it figured out. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody's life is perfect. Everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. And if you can be honest about that battle while still being competent, right, you're going to have so many people drawn to you. So when we act fake, when we act too good, when we act perfect, when we emphasize that competence over that warmth, we create cages that sort of require other people to do the same. And likewise, when we let our guard down, when we show our blemishes, our imperfections a little bit more, we give other people the permission to do the same. And so, for the listeners of this show, if you can be 10% more real and more authentic, you'll allow other people the privilege of doing the same, and will set in motion a virtuous cycle that I think is super powerful.
Man, so true. You brought two recent experiences to mind as you were saying that. I'll share a couple just real quick because I think it can serve the listeners and the watchers out there. So um, we had a little panel out at our launch experience, and it was four of our most successful uh, members on stage. And we do our biggest award every year we give is a DBDL award. So those that level up in business but not sacrifice the life, like both, yes and. So we had a panel discussion, and I won't say who it was, but let's just say like a young, well put together, like one of our members, like he got into like it was a panel discussion, and he started to break down and tear up because he was talking about this year and what it meant to him and how he grew the team and how impactful it was to him. And he's a spiritual guy, and how he was serving a greater good. And that was his mission. And he had to take a second and gather himself. And he stepped off stage, and I went up to him and I said, man, thanks so much for that. And he goes, I appreciate it. Sorry for getting emotional. I go, no, get emotional more often, because I will tell you, everybody in this audience is, you're a little bit intimidating. You take care of yourself. You got the perfect part. You're a good looking dude. And you let everybody in. And I go, when you teared up, I teared up, and I felt you, and I'm deeper connected with you now than I was before that. So lesson as a leader, be vulnerable every once in a while, and it will let people in. And it's exactly what you're saying. Like, I feel so many times in finance, because it's professional and you're in a suit and tie or whatever, it's almost like this armor that protects your persona. You don't let people in. To your point, when you let people in, it's so powerful. And can I do one more? Because like, you're driving it home, and I just like, if there's one thing we can hit from this whole episode, it's been awesome. It's like, if they get this, man. So we did a private mastermind, 10 or 12 of our members. This was on the back end, and the last guy up, we call it the spotlight seat. And it's like, where do you need help? Talking with his peers. Michael Hyatt was in this room hosting it. He said, I've always been really good at sales, but as a leader, as my team's grown, I feel like a fraud. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in over my head. And he was real enough to like be authentic and just share. And Michael he stopped right after that. He goes, hey, you're all leaders. You're all entrepreneurs. You're all running businesses. Does anybody else sometimes when you're leading feel like you're a fraud and you don't have it all figured out? And he raised his hand, and every single person in that room raised their hand. And he looked back at the guy sitting in the chair. He goes, congratulations, you're normal. Yeah. And it was one of the most powerful moments. And I just want to echo that because it's so true. And for some reason, all of us dudes think we have to be perfect, and it's absolutely not true.